On today's Locked On Royals podcast, we're going to dive into the Kansas City Royals trading Andrew Benintendi to the New York Yankees. The Yankees get an all-star Gold Glove outfielder. The Royals get multiple pitching prospects. How this move has salvaged this rebuild and can reposition the Royals ahead of this week's deadline. Plus, what other dominoes might fall for Kansas City. All of that and more coming up on today's Locked On Royals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Royals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Royals. Email the show, lockedonroyals@gmail.com. Big episode today. We've been talking all week long about the MLB Trade Deadline. Every day we've talked about rumors and previews and what might happen, what could happen. We have the biggest piece of news from the trade deadline for the Royals in our hands right now, as the Kansas City Royals trade Andrew Benintendi to the New York Yankees. We're going to break down that move from all levels, including hearing from our local Locked On podcast prospects guru, Lindsey Crosby, about these three pitchers the Royals get back. We're going to conclude Andrew Benintendi's career in Kansas City and talk about how Dayton Moore and the Royals have just repositioned themselves a bit in this rebuild and what's to come for the rest of this trade deadline period. A lot to dive into today, but first, thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Royals baseball. Subscribe for free across all platforms. Every episode's totally free. Subscribe on podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, even on YouTube as well. Leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a like, anything you want to do. Also, of course, on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles and at Locked On Royals. So thank you again for making us your first listen. Very important day for the Kansas City Royals. We talked all this week leading up to today about how this is the biggest chip the Royals have. This is the best hand of cards that they have to play at the table. If they want to reposition themselves at the deadline and help salvage this rebuild that looked as though it might have taken a step back this year, if they wanted to do that, they had to deal with Benintendi, and they had to get a good haul for Benintendi. And I think that they've done that. So I want to start this podcast out by giving the floor to Lindsey Crosby. He hosts Locked On MLB Prospects to break down all three pitchers the Kansas City Royals got back in this deal, what their outlook is as well. And then we're going to come back and do our deep dive into the Kansas City Royals trade as well. So again, this is Lindsey Crosby from Locked On MLB Prospects. Check out his show as well. He's going to go deep dive show into this trade as well today. So make sure after this podcast is over, you go check out that one. Here he is on these three pitching prospects.
With 6 days to go until the trade deadline, the first big piece has come off the board. I'm Lindsey Crosby, host of Locked On MLB Prospects, and we have seen the first significant trade of the 2022 trade deadline with the Kansas City Royals and the New York Yankees reaching an agreement on moving outfielder Andrew Benintendi. He is on his way to New York, and in return, the Yankees are giving up three pitching prospects: righty Chandler Champlain, lefty TJ Sakima, and righty Beck Way. Way is definitely the highlight of the package to me. The fastball artist, has a four-seamer, has a two-seamer, has a cutter, also throws a slider and a change. Needs to work on control and command, but I think he's the star of this package and can absolutely reach the ceiling of a number 3 starter. Champlain's a guy that doesn't have conventional stats that make that are super impressive, but has good stuff that the scouts love. Throws a fastball, throws a slider, throws a cutter, throws a curveball, and absolutely competes out there on the mound. Sakima's the interesting one in this package. I'm guessing the Yankees have seen him as strictly as reliever now. He's had a lat injury, he's had a shoulder injury, he's had an elbow injury. They cut both the 2019 and 2021 season short. And I'm guessing those injuries plus the cross-body delivery that he has the Yankees thinking he's going to profile as a starter and not somebody that they're afraid to give up in a package. Stay tuned to Locked on MLB Prospects and Locked on MLB for all about this MLB trade deadline between now and Tuesday.
There you have it, the breakdown from our prospects expert, Lindsey Crosby, on these three guys. And so I'm very excited about this move for a lot of different reasons. Let's start with Andrew Benintendi. I've loved watching him play these last couple of years, and if you transport yourself back in time to whenever that deal went down, the initial trade, whenever the Royals got Benintendi and they traded away a top 10 guy and Khalil Lee to the Mets in a weird three-team conglomerate of trades. When they got Benintendi, it was a jolt in the arm. It was awesome to see them get somebody who had that kind of pedigree that was needing a bounce-back season. He's had two of them, each better than the last. He's an all-star, gold glover. He's been awesome in Kansas City, and I'll continue to root for him in New York. So I'm happy that he gets to go play competitive baseball this year. And I know it's the Yankees, and we're not supposed to root for them, and we shouldn't root for them to win a World Series, but I like this Yankees team. I think that they're the best in baseball, and I like Benintendi. I'll be rooting for them come October because of Benintendi, but so I'm happy that his swan song in Kansas City was an all-star caliber year, and I think that the pressure of this trade gets taken off a bit by Kansas City because you've gotten three pitchers now, and if one of them pans out, if one of them is useful, then that initial Benintendi trade is even more of a win than it is right now. I think it's already a massive win for Kansas City, that initial trade, but it's even more so if even one of these young arms pans out in this trade with the New York Yankees. Now, if the Yankees going to win the World Series, they've obviously won this trade on their aspect of it, but the Royals, to feel comfortable with the return they got for Benintendi, just need one of these guys to pan out because the marquee names you gave away in that trade, Franchy Cordero, Khalil Lee, they didn't really pan out anyway, and you got a productive and you can call it face of a franchise. Now, again, Bobby Witt Jr. is the face of the franchise. Whit Merrifield was the most popular player. Salvador Perez is the most popular player of all time in the modern era. Let me say that, in the modern era. But Benintendi is right there as a marketable face in Kansas City, as a marketable face that is recognized around the league, especially because of his time in Boston and winning a World Series. So you got that aspect of it off the field. You got really good on the field production as well. And it just didn't work out. The timelines don't mesh together. Considering age and contract and free agency and everything else, the timelines of the Royals and Benintendi don't work together. They tried to make it work. They tried to push in by acquiring Benintendi, by acquiring Carlos Santana, Mike Minor, Michael A. Taylor. It just didn't work out. And so now you move on. You get three pitchers in return that I'm very excited about. I understand that on the surface level, it is two guys in the Yankees' top 30 prospects and one that's just shy of it, I believe. But I think it goes deeper than that. And I think that you should be excited about this move if you're a Kansas City Royals fan today. And I want to dive into why that is and why I think this move helps the Royals salvage this rebuild a bit and reposition this rebuild and a rebuild that looked like it was taking a massive step back just a couple of weeks ago. Now you kind of feel a bit better about how you've been able to rekindle it with this trade. This trade, I think, pulled off exactly what you needed it to, as we've talked all this week about trading away Benintendi and needing it to be kind of this centerpiece big move. I think you've gotten that, even though on the surface there might be some disappointment. But we're going to dive into why there shouldn't be much disappointment coming up as well. So a lot to get into today. Thank you to Lindsey Crosby, of course, for breaking down these prospects, and go listen to his show. His standard 30-minute show today will be all about this trade, I'm sure, and about some more. And I also want to get into today how the Royals can reposition themselves at the trade deadline to trade away even more talent. Like, can they find something for Whit Merrifield? Can they find something for Michael A. Taylor? Kind of what their plans are now, as we still aren't at the deadline quite yet. But I do want to tell you also about our good friends over at BlueNile.com, because BlueNile.com is the place to be. Make sure you check them out, whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating the milestones of a lifetime with the biggest moments. Find jewelry as unique as your partner with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile is simple. It's an online tool that lets you choose a diamond shape, size, clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile has bench jewelers that will handcraft the perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. If you're looking for fine jewelry, but you're having trouble choosing and you're not quite sure, what to go for, that's no problem because BlueNile.com makes it very simple for you because they have online jewelry experts available 24/7, either via phone or a live chat to help you find that memorable gift at every budget. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on right now is the Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry and 25% on engagement rings. Plus, every order is insured, ships for free, and offers a discreet packaging that will not give away what is inside. So shop stress-free and find your favorite piece by going to BlueNile.com today. Folks, we are back on the Locked On Royals podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. We've talked all week about this possible move, trade deadline previews, and Benintendi rumors and everything else that's finally happened for Kansas City, their big move. But thank you again for making Locked On Royals your first listen every single day. I want to inform you that the MLB Trade Deadline is August 2nd, and Locked On MLB will have all the breakdowns. Locked On Royals will have rapid reaction to any move that they make from now until the deadline. You can subscribe right now to your favorite Locked On baseball team on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcasts from to be notified every single time an episode premieres. And also, we're going to have a special live show breaking down these moves as they happen on the deadline day. So subscribe to Locked On MLB on YouTube to make sure you get that live show notification that goes out whenever we are live on deadline day. Very exciting stuff. Now for the Royals, this is your deadline. Like, this is the day you should have fun. You should be looking up highlights of these young pitchers and reading everything you can read and everything else because this is your biggest move for Kansas City. Now for baseball as a whole, there's still a lot out there. There could be a Soto move. There could be a this or that move. But for the Royals, this was the cherry on top of the sundae. You trade Benintendi for these three pitchers. Let's start with the fact of what I mentioned before the break. You only need one to pan out. And it's a really good trade. I think that I think every single one of these guys, and there's injury issues with Sycamore, obviously, but if the Royals, of course, have him pass their physical and they believe in his arm moving forward, then that's fine. I think that all these guys can at least be a really good bullpen piece for Kansas City. And that's how the Royals win. And if Way can become, Beck Way can become a mid-rotation guy as people think he can, even that is really good. Because while the Royals have been investing in college arms and they've been investing in, pitchers in the draft recently, none of them have really panned out. None of them have really taken that baton and ran with it. So you need to supplement that loss and offset that loss in the draft. Picking guys like Daniel Lynch over Shane McClanahan, those kind of losses you need to offset with moves like this where you're getting three prospects back in return. I'll also say, the Royals are going to fire Cal Eldridge. Like, you have to believe that. He's the worst pitching coach in baseball. And you have to believe that they understand that. They just don't have anyone in the current scenario to replace him. So they're going to play out this season and then go into the offseason looking for a new pitching coach. And then they'll have a whole new identity come spring training and have a whole new look at all these guys, not just these three, but of all the pitchers in the system, have a whole new set of eyes on them. So that's very exciting that you have a need for pitching. You've combated some of those, busts, at least they look like busts right now. And you're going to get a whole new set of eyes on all these guys moving forward. Coming in the offseason, you have to believe that. Like you have to keep the faith in that way that they're going to actually do that. But I think Lindsey Crosby hit the nail on the head. I think that Beck Way is the guy that you should be just pre-ordering a jersey for, so to say. If you just wanted a jersey for one of these guys, I think Way is the easiest one. I love his fastball and off-speed stuff. Obviously, you're hoping he can get that control. But I think that he can be a 3-4 guy in your rotation and come up big in some pivotal moments as well. So I'm excited for that, and I think that the last two guys can really help you out in the bullpen. Now, I don't know for sure what Chandler Champagne will be or TJ Sigma will be. Again, the Sycamore thing is more about injury than anything else, and the Royals, of course, will have to have him pass a physical. But even if all three of these guys end up being back into the bullpen type of arms, we've seen Dayton Moore build bullpens before. We've seen the Royals build a formula around the bullpen before, and even that would be considered a massive win. Because you're not going to get top 10 prospects for a guy like Benintendi, and that's not Benintendi's fault by any means. It's just the way that the game is played. So with Benintendi, you look at him and he's an all-star. He's a Gold Glover. He's awesome, but he's a free agent after the season's over with. So you're only going to get, a quarter of the season with Benintendi plus however long your postseason run lasts. So you're not going to give up your top guys for that. And so considering the contract details, considering where they stand right now, this was a great move for Kansas City. And I'm really excited about it. And I think that the Royals made the right decision here by going all in on trying to offset those pitching woes. Because you look at it right now, and what you're hoping for and what you still believe in is that you've got MJ Melendez, you've got Bobby Witt Jr., you've got Nick Prado, and you've got Vinny all in the field, whoever else you can muster up, through the pipeline as well. You need to have help on the pitching side of things. And I will also say this. My belief is, and why I'm so excited about these pitchers, my belief is it is much easier for Kansas City, and by Kansas City I mean a small market, to find competent bats on the open market than it is to find good pitchers. I mean, look back to Kendrys Morales. He was a pivotal part, and you do not win a World Series without Kendrys Morales. So you can find those guys. They're out there for you. What's not out there is the possibility of one of these guys turning into a 2 or 3 starter. That's not out there for Kansas City on the open market. What's not out there is the possibility of all three of these guys turning into 7, 8, 9 guys in the back end of your bullpen. That's not out there in Kansas City. You can't break the bank for those kind of guys on the open market. So pitching is the currency of baseball, and especially for Kansas City, who can't just go and buy it. They've got to trade for it. And you used your biggest trade chip to go get pitching. So you used your biggest trade chip to go get the currency of baseball. I can't really fault you for that. And to get three of them is a big deal to me, again, for a guy who is going to be a free agent after the year. So I'm very excited. I cannot wait to see how this all unfolds. I think that Kansas City did a great job mitigating some of their losses because, let's face it, when and if Cal Eldridge gets fired, even so, you fire him and you bring in a new pitching coach. Even with that change, not all these guys are going to turn it around. Like between all the guys who are failing right now, a new pitching coach can't be the problem solver for all of them, every single one of them. It'll be the problem solver for most of them and for some of them, but it can't be for every single one of them. So you fail on a few guys and a few picks. You're going to have a new pitching coach to get their eyes on them here and change some of their philosophies and change some of their outlooks and things like that. It's exciting. It's exciting stuff. What's also exciting is going to betonline.net, folks. BetOnline is incredible. It's so easy. You type in BetOnline in your URL, you go to sports, and we have right here, speak of the devil, the Kansas City Royals are taking on the New York Yankees tomorrow. I'll love you tomorrow, Benintendi, even as you're playing against Kansas City. It'll be Brady Singer. It'll be Jamison Tyone. It'll be a 6 p.m. start time. So you're going to go to bed a little bit early tomorrow in Kansas City. It'll be awesome. You can bet on it. The Royals are 1.5 run underdogs in this game. Check it out at BetOnline. It is the very best sport book for you. It is very best at sport news, information, odds, lines, and prop bets. Check it out today. BetOnline. BetOnline, where the game starts. We are back on the Locked On Royals podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. Thank you so much for listening to Locked On Royals. Check out Locked On MLB for the national conversation around this move. And I want to know your opinion. Tweet at me, Rylan_Stiles, Locked On Royals. Leave in the comment section down below. What do you think of this move? What do you think of this Benintendi trade? On tomorrow's show, we're going to recap that Angel series, plus revisit that original Benintendi trade. And then Friday's podcast will be us discussing Benintendi's debut against the New York Yankees. How fun is that? Because they're playing the Royals. That's awesome that lined up that way. Now, check it out today. Locked On Royals, anywhere you get your podcast from. Check out Locked On MLB Prospects, Locked On MLB National Show, and, folks, training camp just opened up. Check out Locked On Chiefs as well. So a lot to get to around your podcasting feeds. But I'm excited about this move. I think that this was a really good trade for Dayton Moore, and you're just hoping one can pan out. And when you get a 1 out of 3 chance, we'll see. We'll see if that actually works out that way. So until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.